Developing right now, a big story we've been following closely here at Action News 5. Your child's school, one step closer to oversight by state lawmakers. Today, a joint bipartisan committee met in Nashville, tying up loose ends in the MSCS takeover bill. Action News 5's Imani Williams breaks it down for us. And Imani, there are other school districts that don't face this same level of scrutiny, right?
Well, listen to this. Here's a map right here. 7 other school districts in the state meet 3 of the 6 requirements for the state takeover bill. But those school districts are not being looked at. 2 criteria are being used to target MSCS, the audit and the superintendent role. Republican lawmakers say this proposed bill is rooted in improving education. Their colleagues on the other side question that. The state takeover bill for Memphis Shelby County schools is heading to the floor.
The Senate agrees to the conference report.
25% of students in Tennessee are MSCS students. Republican lawmakers say education performance in Memphis needs to change. A joint committee met Monday to merge the House and Senate versions of the proposed bill.
We've talked a lot about the fiduciary issues, the audit and things like that, but one of the reasons we are at this point in time is we're also interested in the accountability of academics.
The large topic for Democratic lawmakers, why just MSCS and no other school districts in the state?
Who came up with what that number is to qualify a district? Was it arbitrarily pulled out of the air, or was it specifically to pull in only Memphis and Shelby County schools? And I guess that's a question for the authors.
Well, I will speak for myself, then I'll ask Representative White. Look, if we wanted to target Shelby County, there's a number of ways we could have done that.
Leaders with the Tennessee Department of Education listed the criteria for the proposed bill, like math and English test scores, along with attendance rates. According to the department, 7 school districts in the state meet 3 of those, including 2 districts currently run by the state. The recent partial audit on MSCS also questioned Monday. Senate Minority Leader Ramesh Akbari noted 2 other school districts previously received annual audits with findings, but no proposal for the state to oversee the district.
Some of your normal yearly audits, other school districts have found significant findings. I'd like to specifically look at the Murray County schools. 11 findings over multiple years, $4.6 million in budget imbalances.
Representative Mark White says this legislation is rooted in improving education for students. So we could see who will oversee your child's education soon. It could be a state-appointed board as listed in the proposed bill, or the current board if it does not pass. In the legislation, this state-appointed board would have a lot of power, including choosing where the district money goes or doesn't go. Live in studio, Imani Williams, Action News 5.